Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Hey,
Cruz,
what's going on?
Cruz and Phil are here. I'm in Ecuador. He's in Croatia. He's going to be sharing some of his experience out there. This is his first week. He's in a completely different place now. This is his third place. He just gave me a quick briefing, and I told him to, save it for the show.
Ooh. Yeah. Third place. Third place. So you guys, you saw me, you saw any of the last one, then you saw me. I was over at the first place down in Dubrovnik. So we've come from Dubrovnik and we are up in Split now. We stayed with the first place that we had. We would have stayed a bit longer, but there's actually still people booking here. So it was actually gone for the next this next stretch. We could only get it for like 6 days or so. So we had to move places. So we're at this one now for basically like a week, and then we'll decide where we're heading from there. If we're staying up in this area or heading back down towards Dubrovnik. Um, just kind of where got a good chance for both cities and stuff to kind of feel the layout and everything. Good news, you can go through the Bosnia border, no issues. So remember last week we were talking about it, because you got to travel from there, you got to travel, you got to drive up and everything. We went through that process. We rented a car, drove up through 2 seconds. It was completely overhyped, completely overhyped. You handed it, they said okay, and they just sent you on your way and everything. But we were, it's all right. We actually in the process of this random maybe we'll throw it in the throw a little in the description there. I found a new site. Actually, Pat found it. Have you been to this yet, Kuya? It's
N-
COVID. Yeah, covidcontrols.co.
COVIDcontrols.co. What is that?
COVID covidcontrols.co. So this is an extremely useful site that I didn't quite go through exactly how they're updating it. If someone is stuck with the manual process of this or that, uh, but it is giving you basically the real time. It's giving you the real time info for the rules and regulations on each one of the countries and what's going on right now. Really good and really good. Like how you can click down, drill into it. You can see the color if it's completely blocked, slightly blocked. Uh, what the real time kind of results are and everything from that. It actually gave us the Bosnia, and we saw that it was partially closed, meaning you can go in there. You can go into Bosnia with just a 14-day quarantine. So when they see that you're just going through with a drive-through, it's no issue at all. So it's no big deal.
Well,
But
that's
that
good.
site was, yeah, from what I've checked in on everything now and been using it for the past week. It's pretty accurate as far as what's going on around there. So it was a really neat site to see.
So
Um,
as far as
but
your first week so far, I mean, how's it been?
what's going on?
What can people expect with some of the experiences that you had? And while you're doing that, I actually have to check the internet. The technician came in and we have our internet from our previous place over here. So if you could just
Sure.
go into it a little bit more, I'll keep
Yeah. Fine.
checking back. But
No.
yeah, talk a little bit more about your experience out there.
Yes. So it's been amazing so far, honestly. Of course, right now there is a lot less people just out and traveling and everything, but there still are people out and around. Right now, we're hitting the shoulder season, so traveling in October is a little bit different than traveling over the summer. October, we do start to cool down a little bit, which has been all right. We've had some days where it's been absolutely gorgeous. Probably around 70 to 75, sunny, beautiful. But we've also, like the past 2 days, it's been a little chillier. There's been a little rain, but uh, you just take those kind of days when you're doing a long-term travel and you're going to be gone for months. Maybe that's actually a work day for you. So it's kind of just part of living and going around. But overall, can't complain about the weather and that, and the amount of people is very nice for if you want to be able to go and see a ton of stuff without everyone around. And that's on the mainland, though. You will run into a little bit of an issue with this time of year right now. Uh, a lot of the itinerary and different things that you want to go and see around the whole area happens to be a lot of trips to the islands, a lot of boating excursions where they'll take you around, show you different lagoons, go you hit to this island, that island. They'll bring you for lunch here, or just the ferries in general. A lot of that stuff's really, really, really starting to wrap up. So the island life right off of the coast, which is a huge, huge, huge for the tourism industry in here, is kind of going to be shutting down basically right now. That beginning into August is really about as late as it goes. It looks like maybe it might stretch a little bit farther during prime season when you wouldn't have less tourists because of the overall COVID. But it would still be starting to shutting down the beginning of August. So you're just going to have a different experience. So you're going to be staying more on the mainland because when you travel to the island, there's going to be a ton of stuff closed. But if you're on the mainland, you're still going to have a ton of things that are still going to be open, particularly in Split, the city that we're in right now, which has been absolutely gorgeous. So Split all around it is a bit more of a city than Dubrovnik is. There's a lot of actual business. There's a lot of people that live here for potentially other reasons besides just tourism, or they get a ton of money from tourism. It's not the only thing that goes on in Split. Where in Dubrovnik, the big folk, it's Dubrovnik, like really, really just lives off of tourism. Not as nearly as many people in that area. So you have a lot of people that are living around here in Split. It's a lot more livable city. If you wanted to be somewhere long term, I would say. But the big thing is that like the downtown Old Town area is unbelievable. It's like Dubrovnik as far as walking through the old streets, the old squares. You're walking down narrow stone like corridor streets, which they actually a lot of the area here they still actually drive these tiny small cars down through them, which is unbelievable. Uh, the spot that we're at now is actually in one of those areas. And there's like the little cars parked in the little alcoves and pulled off in all lots of different spots, which is a bit crazy to see. Uh, I debated trying to drive the car down here and stopped. We didn't drive the car down here. We we actually lugged our stuff down here, returned the car, and didn't drive the car down these narrow alleyways. But you leave and you're walking around. It's just gorgeous, just unbelievable. Couple story built stone buildings on both of your sides. Walking through the narrow corridors till you get to the old town area, which has Diocletian's palace. You can go out. You're going out and having just a lunch or a cafe in just these amazing different parts of the city. Split is gorgeous. We've explored it for a couple days now, um, and still a ton. We walked through different like little side streets that we hadn't been through before. That was unbelievable. We There's a huge park area right outside, which is also gorgeous. Like sectioned off like a couple kilometers of area. That's just all park, all woods. There's a couple of beaches that you can walk over to or drive over to, where the water is just absolutely gorgeous. You're basically still in the city. And you're swimming there in the Mediterranean for a quick dip. Um, is it like the most highlighted beaches on the whole Croatian exploration that you can do? No, not at all. But it mean you can be inside the city and then swimming at an absolute gorgeous beach. And if you had a bicycle or something, you can from the center of the city, you're over there in maybe 5-10 minutes. It was like a 30-minute walk or so. So that wasn't bad at all. Let's see, prices in Split right now, a little cheaper than Dubrovnik, I would say. You can still definitely get hit by going out to eat a lot, going out to a lot of different, tourist spots and everything. But you can get some really solid, decent grocery store prices. We've gone to it. I haven't purchased anything from it yet. I plan on going tomorrow. On the other side, so if you have a Split on the coast here, you have like the section that's a park, and then you have like the old town area. Right on the other side of this, there a huge open market. Ton of tables just selling everything, all different kinds of produce. There's some of the stalls, some of the like more permanent stalls where you can get different meats from and everything, at really reasonable prices. Actually, that place when you go over there, like it's not tourists that are there. It's all locals that are picking up stuff from the market for a living. So want to go in there, pick up some, a stable of supplies and everything, just to get us through the next few days. We're going to be actually here working for the next few days. So uh, I would say the biggest thing. So you're coming to Split now. So if you come through, you came through Dubrovnik, you want to stay in Split for a little while. One thing at the place that we're at right now is it's beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. One of the bedrooms is just all exposed brick because we're in the old town now where we're staying. They redid one of the buildings. I mean, I look outside like the window, and it's like the old one of the old stone church like steeples. The bells are like right there, like really right in the heart of it. The place is unbelievable. We booked it a little quick. We missed a couple things. Not necessarily the price or anything, missed a couple things. So you can chuckle. So don't make the same mistake. When you're looking, and especially in your Old Town area, apparently you can book a place that has two bedrooms and doesn't have a living room at all. So there's no there's no common living area. It's dumb, absolutely stupid. So we've been here like just one day. So like we want to watch TV or something, like I gotta watch it in my room. And there's the kitchen, and then Pat's in his other room with like there's no just common area to hang out.
So you
I
guys, so you guys both have to be on the same bed or something if you guys like watching a
yeah,
football game.
we would absolutely have to. I'd be like, oh, you want to come over and come snuggle so we can come watch the movie or something. So that'd be the only way. So careful with that. The other thing is if you're going to be here traveling, say you're going to be staying long term, right? You wouldn't really need the car as much, except maybe you want to rent a car on a couple days once in a while to go head off to go do something somewhere far, right? Um, if you're doing it on a shorter run, so you say you're doing Croatia in a week or two, you're gonna have a car and a lot. You're basically gonna have a car majority of the time because you need to be able to get around, go around, do some other areas, go do some stuff. If when you're looking at spots on Airbnb or looking at spots, having a parking spot or area that has parking, I would say is probably more important than staying in the top epitome of the downtown area. Depending on what you're doing, if you think you're going to be having a car for your traveling, you think you're going to be needing that traveling, don't pick in the old town. In the really, really centrally located in the old town area, or really double check. Maybe there's an Airbnb spot that happens to have some crazy underneath spot or something extra. Otherwise, it's a big hassle. You're not going to be able to get it. You'd be parked quite a ways away. The first spot that we had like really good on-street parking. Slash, they actually did have a spot, and it was only a few minutes more walk farther, but the convenience of that is unbelievable. You got to remember you're in a city, and where we are right now, you're in the like old city. I'm talking about like driving the little cars through this. It's like between two just like stone walls, and they're not one ways. There will be other people randomly coming in between these buildings from the other direction at you. In which case, I don't. What do you just stuck now? Okay, so you're just stuck between two 400-year-old buildings driving at each other in these tiny little cars. So I left the car out of there. You don't want any part of it. And the rental companies are like really, really particular. So when we actually did rent the car, they're like level of inspection with the little pictures of every single tiny little thing
Mm.
that was like on it was like they're like, oh, we have this like yeah, look, there's this little thing right there, on the door. Like that's a thing. That's marks. Like we recognize that as damage. There was no like flexibility on just any type of real like casual wear and tear on the car at all.
Yeah.
Like these looks like things that if like just a rock kicked up when you're driving, normal driving, what are you gonna do? Rock kicks up. It looks like there could be a potential. So we actually returned the car today. So we're waiting to see if there's anything. We don't know yet because they didn't give us a review.
Wait, so did you use Enterprise or did you use like one of the services that's over there? I mean, How would
We use
someone go
somebody
about
that
renting a car?
it's a good question. So we used a Voss, which was one of the places in Dubrovnik, and they have locations here. Seemed like they were pretty big. They were pretty professional. Really good reviews on everything. So we ended up going and renting with them. Um, in conjunction with the fact that where we were downtown in Dubrovnik when we wanted to rent the car, there wasn't a ton of other options right near the city of Dubrovnik. We were a little ways from the airport. We didn't want to have to head back in all the way back to the airport to get anything there. So we went with that. But there is still we saw some Hertz, we saw some Enterprise. So if you're more comfortable going with something like that, those are definitely options. Um,
So do you think
but
it's
we
necessary to have a car, or do you think like the public transportation would be an option? Like as far as like your experience so far, because obviously that could change because you're only in your first week. So, um, and you said you just returned the car. So, like, do you think it's suitable, especially since you've been going down those super narrow roads? It's, it
um,
sounds like a movie. That's what it sounds. It sounds like Ronin the movie. You know, they're like weaving through these small ass
oh,
roads.
it's absolutely. It's like any of those like moves, those high speed car chases down like narrow little streets like Italian Job and all kinds of stuff like that, or like a Mission Impossible kind of thing. Like that's what it is driving through those things. Don't it's not it's crazy. Um, I would say that if it was a bit different on the timing of what you wanted to do and everything, and how long you were here, you could absolutely get away with just the public transportation because you can just get ferries. So you can get like the bus if you wanted to from Dubrovnik and Split, which runs um, up and down there, and then you have other ferries that are traveling from Dubrovnik all the way up to Split, along with all the other islands. During the during the summertime, a lot more frequently, and then especially without COVID going on, a lot more of that would be going on as well. So right now is a little bit of an odd time, but I would say you could definitely get away without a vehicle based on your itinerary. Absolutely.
Mm.
You would just you would have to you also got to pre-plan. So that's the other thing too. You gotta, really you need to plan ahead. You need to have certain things booked. You need to make sure you have your bus trip booked. Doing that last minute, sure. You got to know, okay, today we're going to be doing Pavitzi's Lakes because you can't just get there. If you have a car, you can say, okay, we're going to do this Tuesday. If it's nice, sure, okay, pick it up and go, drive. But if that excursion to go see that beautiful like national park there, just a
Hmm.
couple hours away from Split, like if you're not booked and set up, you can't just do it. Um, so there's a little benefits, and the car, if you were just on a short stretch, family two kids stuffed in the back, car back and forth. Those tiny little cars. I don't know if you're fitting all your stuff. The kids in the back might be hugging they might be hugging all the luggage. If it's if you're traveling really light, you could be fine. But the cars are pretty tiny. You can pick a bigger one. You can get a slightly bigger, but you're not getting USA size cars. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
They're not They're not really around. I have not really seen any. You're not getting those, so, um, that is a thing.
What I mean was it a brand that you were familiar with that was out there, or is it what kind of car did you
Brand, yes. Make, not so much. I had the Toyota Aygo or Aygo, Aygo. If you wanna look it up, little Toyota Aygo, Aygo, lovely little vehicle. If I had a big meal for lunch, the car lost some horsepower, didn't move so fast. Um But it's a tiny little thing. Oh yeah, then also if you're renting a car out here too, if you come from the US and it may or may not sure if you can drive, it's a lot more difficult to get an automatic. Like you're going to get a standard.
have? All right, that's a cool thing.
You're good. Sorry. Yeah, you're going to get a manual transmission. Um, so now if you're a little rusty like I am, you're in these narrow, tiny little streets, little area, rolling that vehicle a little bit more than you want it to be with your clutch and everything. So, but that's all right. You get a little used to it. You just get to warm back up. But yes, be very aware that if you book renting a car, there's a great chance that you are selecting a manual transmission. You need to switch over to automatic or find a place that's going to rent you an automatic if that's an issue for you.
Yeah, you know what's really strange? Like just traveling around and stuff. Like the U.S. seems to be one of the only places that I know of that has a lot of automatic. Otherwise, a lot of other countries just go with manual. So it's kind of an interesting thing, especially since like if you go to different countries, everyone who drives can drive stick, but then
Yeah.
there's so many people in the U.S. that actually can't drive stick at all. So it's one of those it's one of those kind of interesting kind of driving observations. Like you go to a place and most of like you go to a place, the option of automatic is going to be more rare and it costs more, whereas here in the U.S. it's the complete opposite. Like manual would cost more because it's more rare versus automatic. So it's kind of a flip as far as at least culturally, car wise it's different.
Well, now, I mean, I was not gonna lie, it was actually a little fun getting back on behind a stick shift. It was enjoyable.
I bet you.
Thankfully, I made it out of the parking lot from the rental car agency without stalling. That was the first success. You don't want that happening. So that was great. Got out of there. I mean, it's been, geez, probably, been almost since I drove it every day. I mean, it's probably been almost, 15 years since I drove one every day, um, with a few little stints in between. So I was a little rusty. I don't know if you noticed that. I forget what's going on over in Ecuador and stuff. So all the other thing over here too, got to factor in is petrol is a lot pricier. The petrol is a lot pricier right now. A lot
um
of the places were like $8 to $9, $8 to $9 kunas a liter.
eight
So
to nine dollars
8 to 9 kunas a liter.
And what
Um,
is that? What is that in dollars?
it's about 6 to 1. So you're looking at we're at about 5 to 6. It was roughly about some of the prices around that. It was probably like $5 or $6 a gallon.
Wow.
So it wasn't crazy, but it was a fair bit. I think whatever it was, I filled up. Got what, 20 something liters, so it was like 7 gallons or so to like top this vehicle back off 8 gallons. And the total price was like $45 or something just for that, which
Wow.
right now is, yeah, pretty pricey. Right now, I went back home, we're around $2, it'd be 16. So we're looking at overall, it seemed like it was about 3 times the price.
That's steep. So anyone out there who has some stories to tell about if they've traveled out to Europe or anything like that. I know right here in Ecuador the gas is super cheap comparatively. Like a gallon here I think is like $1.20 or $1.30. So it's super cheap, and that's per gallon. But part of the reason is they export oil, and then here in Ecuador they actually consume the oil too. So actually, not too far away from where I am, the next town over, there's actually a refinery. So
Hmm.
um, one of the biggest issues that occurred last year in September going into October, was there were major protests in regards to the gas prices going up a dollar, and it was basically the whole nation protested because for a lot of people it's their livelihood, and on top of that, because things are much cheaper here, right? Like adding an extra dollar or doubling the price of gas is just gonna cause some major repercussions to people's lives. So
I mean, what? No, I mean, I'm sure this is going to be super interesting to everybody, but quick napkin math. Say you're somebody that's driving, right? Say you're just driving people around, taxi driving, right? For the week, you go through what's a reasonable number? Say 40 gallons of gas, right? Which is nothing.
Yeah,
Like what's $40? What's $40 get you?
definitely gets you somewhere in probably a good 50. uh, You talking miles?
No, no, no. What $40 is gonna, an extra $40 now going towards gas for this guy, for this person's
Oh
living.
yeah, oh yeah, it's huge. It's absolutely massive as far as how that affects people out here, especially like using the taxis, where for the most part, right, like if like for instance we use a taxi to to bring over um to bring over a mattress over to the house, and that costs $7. But that doesn't include the taxes that they have to pay, the fee for their car, and then the gas itself, you know, and then haggling. You can always have opportunities to haggle. So, um, and then the take home afterwards. And actually, here's a crazy thing. So the other night, Sophia and I were walking around, the neighborhood, and dude, it was like 10 o'clock at night, and the guy's washing his taxi car you know. So after working all day and then finishing the day, his day is not done. Like he's cleaning it up, he's sanitizing it, So it's a combination of different things. So, like right now, from my understanding, one of the news articles that I read in regards to the gas here is that $40 per barrel is not sustainable in Ecuador. It's got to be like $50 plus to be able to be sustainable, because they're not part of OPEC. So I don't really know how that really works as far as the oil cartel and things like that. But
Hmm.
they're not a big exporter compared to Saudi Arabia or anything like that. But again, these are significant factors here that like any major shift in price as far as petrol goes is going to be pretty significant for Ecuador. Actually, when the day before that they were going to enact this new law, the lines in the petrol stations were so long, hours. Some of them were hours long because people were filling up their tanks or filling up extra containers just to have for later on.
Everything, yeah.
So um, so yeah, so needless to say, it was a very hectic time period. And like I said, I mean the whole country was protesting, and for good, not to get too political, but for good reason. To me, it was a good reason. So, uh, any and
Yeah.
anyone out there in the audience, if you have an experience or some comments in regards to some of the stuff that Cruz has experienced, maybe you guys have questions. I know Cruz has been having quite a bit of fun his first week
Oof.
there. So we want to get the lowdown. I want to get the lowdown on what the nightlife is like right now during the whole beer bug thing, the whole traveling out there in Croatia. What's it like?
Um, so of course, there's certain restrictions on some stuff. Like clubs that don't really serve food, technically they have to close at like 12:30. There's no real restrictions on intern. I think technically the number is a few hundred. Um, the outside gathering up to like 500. I think are like the technical numbers of what they're supposed to be at now. Um,
Mm,
they so there's less people around, there's less tourism right now, there's less, so you just got to find your spots. Uh, Dubrovnik varied a little bit. We didn't see Dubrovnik on the weekend, which is a Friday and Saturday.
mm,
Because remember now, we're looking for locals as well that are more out as well. Because one, we're not during peak tourist time, and two, it's COVID, so we don't have nearly as many. So people got to work. People, what's the normal time? Like just like regular back home. Like Sunday was quiet, Monday was kind of quiet. But Friday and Saturday night, um, there was a large number of people out in some areas. We'll say there was there was some of the like as you'll just like you'll hear the noise. So it's kind of crazy. So like because it's not just going to be everywhere packed, like you're going to hear the noise as you walk into these narrow, gorgeous, like winding stone streets, buildings, couple stories, just beautiful. You hear it like echoing through, and you're just like, I think that's a bunch of people. But you can't see, like you don't know this, you can't see anything. You know, the next thing might be turning to the right, turning to the left. Yeah, I mean, it's going straight. You'll wind up, you'll pop up, and you'll see, and all of a sudden you'll be like, and yep, that's a bunch of people. And like, because they'll spill like everything doesn't. All these buildings for like these places for like the going out. If you're in the old town, these places are tiny. Like they're not. We're talking about like they're building these places in small spaces because that's all that they have to work with. That was like the existing stone structure that was previously there, and they'll gut them and turn them out, turn them around and stuff. But like if it's like say it's a restaurant in that downtown in a lot of the downtown area, maybe there's 12 to 20 seats depending on the space, maybe.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, tiny. If you go a little bit just outside of the old town, um, like kind of core area, you start to get some buildings that were have been like obviously knocked down and have been rebuilt over years in the exact same fashion, but were built slightly or have been gutted a little bit and remodeled because they're not part of any of the mandatory preservation area, and you'll get slightly bigger places out there. So we've gone to one that was over in that area. That's it's called like Black Dog Tavern. It's a little newer style that they were redoing. Beautiful. It's still gorgeous inside with all the stonework and everything, but it's actually a bigger size. But that's bigger by Croatian standards.
Mm.
We're not talking about bigger by like any of our standards, what you would think about going to like something in like a Vegas or for as far as a huge bar or a big bar in New York. No, no, not at all. So a lot of the stuff, especially in the Old Town area, like it spills out into the walkways. It spills out into the street, and that's just is. Um, there's not the same laws and stuff as that. Like you can walk around with an adult beverage. That's not an issue. That's not a problem in Croatia. Um,
And you know what's interesting that you say that? Like, I feel like the where places where the rules are lax with alcohol and things like that, I haven't really encountered any major problems, or I haven't encountered any problems actually, even here in Ecuador. I mean, not knock on wood, but it's one of those things where, I mean, like in Vegas, you can walk around with a beer, and I think you can still, if you're a passenger in a vehicle, as long as the driver doesn't have a beverage, like the people in the car can drink.
mhm.
Because that was one of the things that I did geez, years ago. But crossing the border from California to Nevada, you can have an open drink as long as
Oh yeah.
you are the passenger and not the driver. And then on top of like walking around the streets, I mean, but I think part of it too is just the way the environment is, right? It's like, yeah, you have all these stone buildings, the places are only so large, and then people congregate in the same place, so it's obviously going to spill out in the streets. So they do have to be a little bit more lax about that. Um,
Mhm.
so how's the beer? I mean, how are the drinks?
Oh, I've been mainly drinking locals, Ojuskos and Pons.
Mm,
Um, I like the two local or light lagers. I had a couple barbas with dinner, which is like an American style lager, which is a local Croatian beer. They've all been really good. There's so this they have like kind of like every place has like an alcohol, and I can't properly describe how many of these and how many different ones that we've actually tried so far. But it's called Rakia, Rakia, and I haven't been able to get. So we've had some talks with people and talks to some local. I haven't been able to get out of them what it is. But basically, it's a some type of fermentation process that seems along sort of the grain alcohol level style of what they do, and then they infuse it with whatever they like slash is local for them, or how strong or light that they want to make it based on. If not, maybe this one's more towards women and or males, and then families, and then if you made it at home and people just make it at home with different areas of the country. It's that, yes, that is the most succinct. I mean, I haven't I keep just getting that. I'm sure I could Google some background on it, but there's no fun in that at all. The legend and lore of all the different types of this, and I mean, there's just like different types, along with just people make this like it's a homemade thing all the time. Like that's like, so many people make this at home. We've had a bunch of actual uh, homemade rakia. We went
Wait,
on a little bit of an event. What?
was that the same thing that you had kind of towards the end of the last week's video? Was it wine or was it the
Yeah,
latke?
it was something. Yeah, so she called that like a sherry or like a port, but it was something very very similar to that, but it was just like a really sweet version of it.
Mm.
A really really sweet version. We've had some very different types now. We've had some that are like I was like it was like this was a gasoline. Like you could definitely run your vehicle on it. So there's very wild types. We've had some like almonds. We had some like hazelnut ones that they're awesome. They're delicious, delicious like that, like amaretto flavor. They still, still have a little bit of a kick to them, but it's this like local, like crazy legend story. Everybody makes their own. It's a thing. It's it's neat. I didn't want to Google it and ruin it. Trying all the different ones and just all like the urban folklore around it. Like, oh, you got to try this one and this one and this one. It's way better that way. So I left it without really going into the whole history of it. I don't want to know.
Yeah, no, that's.
Um,
I think that's an important point to um, that you bring up with traveling, right? With the power of Google and stuff being online, it's so easy just to be like, oh, I'm gonna go research this thing, but applying what even when we were younger, right? Like before Google became a thing, like you had to go out there, you had to ask questions, you had to visit places to get a sense of like what those things were. And I think that's a very rewarding aspect about traveling. And I'm actually really glad that you did that. Like, oh, I'm not going to Google this because I think that's everyone's default answer these days, right? To like, oh, to be in the know, it's like, oh, I'm going to Google it rather than, oh, you know, talking with someone or just experiencing something and then being like and going on that trail. It's like it's to me it's such a better experience because it's a whole surprise and then it's being told by the people that are from that area. So it's a lot better.
it was a lot better. I typed the spelling of it. So I did just Google the spelling of it because my Croatian is terrible. Um, but if anybody listen, if another little side note, if anybody's planning on trying to learn a Slavic-based language, good luck. Let me tell you.
Good luck.
Holy cow! Wow. I mean, just having like the background in Spanish, basically, you can get away with so many language. So seeing like just the reading, just the way that the vowels and consonants are put together, and this particular language, you can just get a whole paragraph of where you can't pick out a single word. Can't make hide nor hair of anything in that. So it has been extremely, extremely difficult to get going up in that. With that being said, and we're not going to do this live now, but you are, if the more you try, you actually am picking up some. I actually watched a whole bunch of Croatian TV earlier. That was very exciting. Just try. So yeah, we were talking as we were like that scene, from other that's like the most common way that people learn languages. It's not even from school. Is how'd you learn this? Like, oh, we watched English movies.
Yeah.
Like that's
Did it have
it's
subtitles? Did it have subtitles or no?
yeah. I watched them both. I watched Croatian with English, and then I watched English movie with Croatian subtitles too.
Oh wow. Okay.
Um, Going back and forth and just watching them, and like you just kind of slowly start to pick stuff up a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, it just kind of is one of those ways that's commonly used to just try and get familiar with the language and everything. But it is really, really. I mean, I might be getting dumber. That's also possible, but it's tough to pick up.
Well, I think you bring up a really good point there as far as I think movies and subtitles definitely help. And then obviously being immersed. I guarantee if you were there for like 6 months, you wouldn't be like, completely fluent, but I guarantee that you would have like a stronger basis, you know, just picking up very simple, simple conversations with people and at least, understanding them as well. You know what I mean? Because you're just so immersed in it. And then on top of that, it's like it's cerebral overload, when it's a completely different, if I don't know that type of language, you know, um, going into, the Latin based stuff, it's pretty, it's pretty streamlined. If you do Portuguese, if you do Spanish, and a little bit of French, you can actually kind of pick up a lot of the words or phrases. Whereas over there, I mean, it's a different rule set, like
Really different. It's really different. The pronunciation, it's pretty hard. But I'll be better before I leave. I won't be good, but I'll be better before I leave. That's for sure.
if you leave,
Um,
if you leave.
oh, so there is some little restrictions that have come into play that I guess they're starting. I didn't notice anything this week, but they had a little bit of a spike in cases. I guess they had one day, they had a couple days where they had a few hundred cases or so. They want to make sure they stop it before they get out of hand. So they started saying that they're going to add a few extra little mask restrictions on indoors and stuff. But
Mm.
I was, and I think it was actually from the news headline um, that I read. I thought it was supposed to start today, but I was out a little while ago and it didn't start today. Or it's just one of those things that are put in. And maybe it was, there was a big spike, and I was okay. So, so that might just be more in like the Zagreb area. Like I know Dubrovnik has like no cases going on right now. So if you were back down to that area, there'd be nobody with it currently. I think they had like 12 remaining cases that they knew about, and like 20 people self isolating or something. Um, so it's really different by areas, but then they obviously, they kind of make an overall mandate. But split seems to be going on about its business as is.
Yeah, I think it'd be kind of difficult too, right? To like roll out like new rules and have everyone know about that rule. You know what I mean? Like if restaurant A was watching the news that specific day, and then restaurant B you know doesn't have cable or whatever, you're gonna run into that possible issue, right? That like, oh, it's
Yeah,
it's difficult to control right away and things like that. But just, it sounds like they're just being just a little bit more cautious. But
they
not.
are. They're just, because they want to keep everything open and keep everything moving forward and stuff. But I think overall it'll be fine. And I don't see there's going to be any big lockdowns. I actually don't. If I'm being honest, I actually don't know what else is going on a lot in the world. I listened to a few podcasts earlier today on a catch-up day, but there was a good stretch where I kind of forgot about everything. It's just different. It's just different over here. I know some of the stuff that we usually talk about and everything. Um, but I got my like sort of little recap on the old Pence Harris debate. I don't know if you watched or heard anything about it.
I watched kind of like a music video of.
They are, yeah. So I listened, to some insights on the regular characters and stuff today. But today was like the first thing I checked in about it, about that, about this, about that at all. Last time I kind of shut my kind of periphery off to all that other stuff. Was like last week, Trump was now okay. He had left Walter Reed Hospital, and that was like one of the last things that I knew.
Yeah.
And then obviously with the nowadays news cycle, I mean, things going so fast. So I got a little more time tonight, even after we talk, play a little catch up. The sleep change schedule has been really difficult to get adjusted to for some reason. Actually, usually I'm pretty decent about it. It doesn't take me a lot. There's something I don't know. Maybe I'm better at going back than I am going forward. This going forward thing
Mm.
been completely messed up.
Well, that's
So
a big shift in hours. I mean, it's not like 1 or 2 hours. This is hours
yeah,
with a
yeah, it's a
Z.
lot.
So,
It's a
um,
lot.
like maybe the first day because of the traveling, and then not being able to sleep well on the plane. At least for me, like it takes me a good month, me personally, to like get acclimated to the hours and then get into my normal like sleep rhythm. I mean, not that I have a really good sleep rhythm to begin with, but generally speaking, like, oh, I get up at a certain time, you know, eat and stuff like that, and then like I said,
Yeah,
over there, um, you got what, like 6 hour difference. I mean, that's a big jump.
six right now.
Yeah.
6 right now, but that's before any daylight savings too. So um,
Oh yeah,
we're gonna be
that
doing
too.
we'll be going back in a minute, I think. Uh, but yeah, yeah, I had the long layover. I had the 24-hour layover in London, which really threw things off too. So
Yeah.
that's just kind of completely different and stuff overall, but that's all right.
So
I am getting back to normal today. Go to bed at another, reason. It's a little later, but nothing terrible. It's be one in a little bit here. Um, but I actually feel, like I will be able to sleep a little bit later, as opposed to one night just up until like 5 in the morning, just waiting, just trying to fall asleep, laying
yeah.
down and just like, oh, that was just, it wasn't like we went out to go do anything. That was just, we got back and I just, just couldn't fall asleep. So
Do you take any like melatonin or anything like that?
no, no, I haven't been taking anything at all.
I find that so I've done. So I don't know if anyone here has any insight in regards to this. I'm just going to be basing it on my experience, but one of the things that helps me sleep, to kind of get back in a normal rhythm, but not get that kind of chemical. It's tough to describe, but like I would take like 5 milligrams of melatonin, which is a naturally occurring chemical in the body. It's the thing that creates the pigmentation, the tan color, um,
Yeah,
on the skin, but it's also a sleep agent. And I find that if I take it an hour before I'm gonna go to sleep, the feeling of drowsiness ends up becoming more natural than taking like a normal sleeping pill that's not like a
yeah,
naturally sleeping, like a not naturally occurring in the body. And I don't know, it's helped me, but I don't know if anyone in the audience. Sorry about the dogs. Whenever there's like another dog that passes by, it's like all hell breaks loose.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
welcome to every Zoom meeting that you get on nowadays, right? So if
yeah,
anybody that's like actually working from home or anything, like I want to say that anybody, I think everybody everywhere in general, but that's been like locked up and was waiting for this past like 6, 7 months is just used to
yeah,
somebody's
that's true
dog
too.
or kid going absolutely bananas in the background at some point throughout some meeting.
That's true. That's
It's,
true.
it's just standard nowadays, right?
Yeah. But yeah, so melatonin is what I typically take if I need to get some sleep. Usually an hour before. The only thing is you're tired when you wake up. So
Okay.
uh,
Yeah, we're going to be getting into a little bit more of a step rhythm this coming up. The first like Yeah, I know I left earlier, but I was traveling for like a few days on that first stretch and everything. But I really only got there on Sunday, so I've only been here a little over, just over a week, even though it's a little bit longer with extra like 2 or 3 days of travel.
Yeah.
And then we worked here. Then we really just like we went out. We went all over. We've gone out tons of places, just blowing off some steam, just getting out. Um, for a while, just everything about it, just out going, letting loose. So we're going to be getting a bit more of just a normal, traditional rhythm over the next week or so, and then for me, once I'm out here, solo for a while, I'll be in a lot more of just more like a traditional, like just working and living rhythm for a few weeks,
Mm.
just going out. So trying to think about what I want to do while I'm here. So I'm not gonna get I this Croatia, I love it, honestly. Like so far, I've loved uh, a lot of the people that I've met and the different countryside that I've seen and everything. It's beautiful, beautiful. The town, the city, I can't even describe it. Like pictures really don't do it justice and everything unless you get some of the professional, doctored up Photoshop ones of them. Then they slightly come to do it sort of justice.
Mm.
But I'm gonna have to, no matter what, I'm gonna have to come back during the height of summer. So I'm gonna say anybody that's looking now at doing this during the, you want to come, some of the off season, I'd say whether it's COVID or not, don't stretch it much more than into September, or into like June to start the year. Because this whole area, the whole Mediterranean stretch that we're on here and everything, it really is like focused around the like summertime.
Mm.
Just the culture, the people, the events, everything about it is really packed around those summer, gorgeous, hot, beautiful swimming months. Like that's what this is. That's what the whole place is. I'm really happy I got to see these particular two cities, Dubrovnik and Split. Really, there's another one. I guess what is it? Not Puglia. I'd have to look it up. Rijeka. It's up on the northern coast. There's also another pretty decent city that's really nice as well. I'm so happy I got to see these cities when there wasn't people here. There's still
Mhm.
some people here, but
Yeah.
not like normal. If you ever look at some of the pictures, like I don't even know how they get some of them. They must do them like in the wintertime when there's really, really no one here. But if you look at some of the pictures of these peak cities in the summertime, oh, during a normal year, oh my God, you're talking about like just wall to wall streets of people just walking around and everything. Like with especially in like Dubrovnik, they were telling me like you go and walk the castle walls of Dubrovnik, and you got to like squeeze by people while you're walking on some of these castle walls because they'll be like small little one ways, and it's just packed. They put a couple million people up on that thing over the course of a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so just getting that chance to see those areas and everything with no people is like unheard of. Probably never going to happen again. Never going to get another opportunity to do that. Like you come in, like like I said, the dead of winter. In
Mm.
which case, dead of winter, they're actually like stuff is like actually like closed. Like, there's not a lot open. They do shut down for like a small little bit of season of most places. Um, but I was like, that's the point. Is the summertime? I have to come back during the summertime. There's some
Mm.
huge weeks like yacht week like yacht week, like one of the things to do is like you charter out a boat and like you just sail the whole coast. And there's all these people doing the exact same thing, just sailing up the whole coast for like a week or 2 weeks during this whole stretch. And the place is just alive with people, just unbelievable. That, yeah, I would like to come back at some point for the full on islands, summertime, yacht week going, that would be a thing. I think that would be unbelievable. In fact, so like people mention, you read up on blogs and different things about Croatia. That's one of the things that they mention. Like, if you have a chance to like try and come during that stretch,
Mm. Interesting.
uh,
Very interesting.
even yeah, even not during that stretch, just the summertime. because it's so focused around the islands and everything. If you don't get a chance, like, like we're really lucky that we can travel, we can come out here in the off time and then, maybe plan to come back during the on time, and you're trying to get that vacation, get that real full experience in a short stretch where you got maybe a 2 week or so, you got to come you have to come more during the on season. Um, you just have to. You'd be doing yourself a disservice. Because I think that potentially we'd be coming for different reasons
Hmm.
um, than just your normal traveler, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
tough to compare this. It's tough to compare the same about just saying like, oh, hey, let me write this blog about my experience here. Just somebody that's out writing blogs and traveling. There's also chances that like you're traveling for months at a time, different experience, different ways that you can deal with stuff. If you're dealing with the person in a more traditional setting, you have maybe 10, maybe take an extended 12, 13 days off or something. Come when it's 95 degrees. You want to. That water is so gorgeous. The water is so blue and so amazing. Yes, that's when you got to do that.
Cool. And we're coming close to the hour here. Notice that there's the plug in the background. That's a 220, right? That's a 220 volt.
Are you creeping on my plugs? Can you actually see a plug?
Yeah, it's right on your left.
Oh, it's right above my head. Yeah,
So
yeah, that's a good word. This is a Type C.
all right. So people would need to get an adapter because I think what the U.S. is A and B, A and B.
A, B, or A and F. Might be A and B. Um, Over here is, yeah, the most of them that you're seeing are these Type Cs, Type C adapters for all the conversions. And don't forget and then the UK is different, which means when you realize that and you're stuck there for 24 hours, you end up having to buy a converter at like premium price
That's how they
from
get
being
you. That's how
stuck
they get you.
in a terminal. So I also have that converter stuffed in my bag now as well.
But now
But
you
that's
have
all
it.
right.
The good thing is now you
Yeah,
have it.
yeah. Yeah, they got me. They got me. So um, yeah, it's
Uh,
been just a very good experience so far. Gonna just work. This week's gonna be getting into the routine, and then by the time next week we'll have gone off and done a few other things. Definitely want to talk about that you can still even do during the off season, um, that are still viable. Definitely, even if you want to come and stay for a while.
yeah, no, I think it's really good that you're able to give us like a perspective of what a different time frame is. What the environment is like going out. Getting across the border. Going through Bosnia, and then on top of that, making it to these places and describing like, oh, when are the times? Like it sounds like right now is good for families that want a more relaxed kind of setting. And then
Hmm.
if
You can still
someone
get a ferry ride to the islands. You can absolutely still get a ferry ride to the islands. Very limited. Talking maybe once a day, maybe not on Sunday and stuff. So you could still do that.
Nice. Yeah, so I think this is what's really cool too is that the video that we have is it's you going through your experiences in real time. Well, sort of real time. Um, so you know we're getting your perspective. That's not like overly overly edited. It's really just like, oh, this is what's going on right now. What you've been doing out there, and then getting your personal view, and then talking about going back there. Because it just sounds awesome the way you're describing things, and I like the whole narrow roads of the stone wall cities and things like that. I mean, that's far different from something like in the U.S. So
Oh, it's crazy. It's it's a different world. Like that this downtown area in Split, it's a different, you take your little time machine back and then it's still exactly here, except we happen to put lots of little shops into the old buildings whereas you're walking around finding all these different nooks and crannies of everything. It's absolutely just a different world there. So
with any We're into the hour. Do you have any closing comments in regards to Croatia or anything in particular that stood out to you that you wanted to emphasize a little bit
Yeah, good luck learning Croatian. That's about, yeah, good luck. Don't, you got to get you all in. Don't, it's not a casual one. It's
more?
all, you have to be all completely in if you want to learn it. So yeah, that's it.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us. Tune in next week. Cruz is going to be. Hopefully, he'll have his rhythm, his sleep rhythm back. But definitely a pleasure being able to hear about what his experience is out there. And on top of, I want to point this out too, is that it's nice actually as well that taking a little break from kind of the normal information consumption, right? That we have. I mean, I've been in the same boat. That I've only been, you know, getting time to just nibble at certain pieces of information, but not going too heavy. And it's been, I'll be honest, it's been pretty nice.
Yeah, same. Absolutely. There's a couple days where honestly forgot about that the little extra stuff. Everything is just right now. Everything's one side or the other, right? Not a lot of. It's tough finding some middle ground nowadays. So being
Yeah.
able to kind of just set that aside for a day or two, where I'll be lying if I said it was the whole day, but there was some good runs where that was the last I was not in my brain. That's for sure.
Sure. Well, that's a good thing. Like it gives you more attention to the stuff that's right in front of you. I think that's really important. Out there in Croatia because you don't want to be worrying about stuff like that while you're out there, having a good time.
No, no, not at all.
All right. So with that being said, thank you guys very much for joining us. Feel free to contact us. Tune in next week, and like I said, maybe cruise, maybe walk around with a camera in the place that you're staying at. I know it's going to be nighttime over there, but it'd be good to give people perspective on what's it like in the area that you're in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We can definitely do that.
All right. So with that being said, thank you guys very much for joining us, and tune in next week.